I want to talk briefly about creating tests as quickly as I can. Tests are part of the assessment set of features inside of Blackboard Ultra. And to get there, we start just like we would create any content item. Find the plus icon either at the top of your content area or sandwiched between various elements within your content area, and then go ahead and click Create. And then you'll go down to the assessments section and click test. So at face value, it's very straightforward. If we just want to create a regular test, we're not worried about any of the customization options. It is very straightforward, and we can deal with this particular screen and get a test deployed rather quickly. And I'll show how to do that. But I'm also going to go ahead and click the gear here in just a minute and show you the most important options from within that gear submenu. So first of all, I'm going to name my test. I like to have a naming convention for that. I usually do module 1, test 1, something like that. And then I can begin creating test questions by clicking the plus. Most common question types are going to be essay, fill in the blank, hotspot, matching question, add multiple choice, add true false. And directions for each of these are contained in this module. I won't get into them too much. I'm going to stick with just multiple choice and true false. But of course, matching and hotspot questions are very good and useful as well. So creating multiple choice question, I'm just going to have that option. I'm going to write a question. From here, I'm going to check the box containing the correct answer and then fill in the correct answer along with the other incorrect answers. On the right side of this question entry field, I could either move answers up and down, or I could trash an answer. I could also add another choice if I decided to do that. From here, I could allow for automated feedback and give feedback for the correct answer and for an incorrect answer. When I'm done with this question, I could also denote how many points this question is going to be worth in my test. And then I hit save. From there, to add another question either before or after the current question, I would just hover over these dotted lines and hit that plus. I'll add a true false question here, and that answer is true. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now you could also allow students to add content at the end of an assessment. I can't find a good use case for this, but I suppose if you wanted to allow students to attach a file in addition to answering some questions, then this would be appropriate. The interesting thing is Blackboard has combined both test and assignment functionality so that creating an assignment looks a lot like creating a test. And so you'll have to find your way in terms of what workflow is going to work best for you when you create a test versus an assignment. And that's probably something better for a discussion if anybody has questions about it. So in any event, now if I wanted to just deploy this test as is, dealing only with the test settings that you see visible here, in other words, due date, the category, the grade category that this test will be in, and that's a way of sorting and using various types of assignments or grade center items in order to create calculations. And more on that when we get into the next unit on grade center, or whether we're doing the grading based on points, or whether we're changing grade posting settings, number of attempts, or whether or not we're invoking the originality report, which frankly doesn't apply in this case. If all we need are these options, then we're good to select them from here, and when they're like we want them, then we can go ahead and make the test available. However, there are about 39 discrete options for deploying quizzes and exams, and I have a handout on this, and I'll go into a little more explanation about it in the next video. But one option I want to point out that is pretty important for a lot of people, if we scroll all the way down to the bottom under additional tools, there's time limit, and many people like to have a time limit for their tests, and so this is where you would have that time limit. Otherwise, a lot of the options you can look through, most of them make a fair amount of sense, but I believe the main ones are sort of contained on this initial test settings section on your test canvas. Do we want to change the due date? Do we want to prohibit late submissions? Do we want to prohibit new attempts after the due date? Do we want to allow for class conversations, which is an advanced feature, and I don't believe it'll be widely used, but possibly. Do we want to allow multiple attempts? You can either set 1 through 10 or an unlimited number of attempts. When it comes to grading, will we use points? The points are derived from the value for each question that you set on the regular test canvas. And those are the essential settings I believe you'll use when you create a test. Of course, feel free to give feedback and look for descriptions and more detail in videos in this unit.